Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone joining our webinar today. We're in a partnership with Lightsource BP, and we're going to talk about how partnerships can drive the future of sustainable solar development. I'm joined by Katy McGuinnes. Katy, how are you today? You're still muted.
It was starting off well until I left myself on mute now. So very good today. Thank you very much. As I was saying, the sun has
Oh,
been
good.
shining this week. So yes, all good and a great day for solar.
Yeah, that's really nice. And a great day to talk about also how partnerships can drive solar development. And we're also doing this in partnership with Livestock BP, which is really cool. So on my end, I'm from Solarplaza. Here's where we are. We are passionate about spreading knowledge and network. So yeah, forging partnerships as well as part of that. And we firmly believe that the sun is the solution. So it's great that it's super sunny today. And I'm here to help you guys with some technical details. So any questions, there is a question box for you, and we'll entertain them at the end of the webinar. So please drop them. Don't stop. We have lots of time to discuss them. Any issues as well, I will be here to support. We have AV support on hand, so just drop them on the question box and we'll help you ASAP. So that being said, I want to turn it over to Katy here to take us through the rest of the webinar. Katy, you have the floor.
Great, thank you very much. My name is Katy McGuinnes. I'm Head of Environmental Planning for EMEA at Lightsource BP. So as already mentioned, the purpose of this session is to discuss the value that cross-sectoral partnerships can bring to an organization's sustainability strategy and how this can drive commercial success. Now, this has been a particularly interesting journey for Lightsource BP as we started as a small startup back in 2010 and grew very quickly. But even in those early days, sustainable development and partnerships were at the forefront of our operations. But having those principles and translating that into a formalized sustainability strategy involved a lot of work driving the organization to maturity. Through articulating and realizing our sustainability strategy and our framework, we firmly concluded that one organization alone cannot move the dial. The key to an effective energy transition is, in fact, cross-sectoral partnerships, and this understanding should be embedded within an organization's sustainability strategy. Now, our strategy is anchored on 5 core areas: energy development, environmental stewardship, responsible land management, circularity, and reducing our carbon footprint. Today, we're going to present some of our cross-sectoral partnerships, which we have aligned to our core business operations, and this in turn has allowed us to build on the collective power of many organizations. Utility scale solar requires land. Responsible land management drives environmental benefits. And suddenly, not only do you have a solar farm, but you have all these additional gains and benefits beyond the power that is generating. And this is the true meaning of collective impact. But this can go one step further. We are currently seeing an increased interest in our corporate energy buyers wanting to commit funding towards initiatives which go beyond renewable energy generation, contributing to wider sustainability goals and ESG targets. So imagine the power of this momentum and impact on a global scale if we are able to build more partnerships and widen our reach to broaden the benefits of our projects. So I'll leave you with that thought in mind to set the scene and I'll now go on to introduce our agenda and our speakers. So first we'll look at the agriculture sector in 2 parts. Our head of agrivoltaics, Emilien Simonot, will talk about how Agri-PV innovation is shaping our conversations with farmers and communities in France. Next, Declan Keiley, our head of business development for the UK and Ireland, will talk about our partnerships with Farmers Weekly and how we are playing an active role in supporting British farming. Our second topic features biodiversity and pollinators. Firstly, Pedro Moreira, our principal planner for Portugal, will talk about how our partnership with Palombar, a national NGO, to support and how that partnership is supporting Montagu's Harrier, which is a rare migratory bird of prey and a protected species. We'll then take you into a bit of an operational deep dive on how we set up pollinator-friendly solar farms in Poland and welcomed our first honey harvest this year with Marcin Stoltman, our principal planner in Poland. And finally, to wrap up, we welcome Liza. She is our Marketing Strategy Director for EMEA and the Global Power Markets, to share some of the ideas on the importance of brands communicating these partnerships and why this is driving the future of renewable energy development. I hope these topics will inspire ideas and thoughts on how our sector, in partnership with others, can deliver greater sustainability benefits globally. We will aim to have Q&A at the end, but first I'll hand over to Emilien to pick up on Agri-PV.
Thank you, Katy. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
I think so, yes. Very good. Thank you so much, Katy, for the introduction. So as Katy just mentioned, let's dive into Agri-PV first, which is a discipline that at Lightsource BP we've been developing since a very early stage of development of the company, and since 2013, and for which in the last year we have been incorporating more and more techniques and more knowledge, especially when we entered in key markets like France, like Italy, or like Germany, where the regulations are developing fast to try to steer Agri-PV sector towards a better quality of project. And the quality of project is actually the challenge that we are facing, and the goal that we are working against. And for that, there are key elements where partnership building and partnership strategy are very important, and I'd like to highlight some of those. So the first one is actually a kind of a paradigm change for us as a PV developer, because we are used to do land prospection, while for Agri-PV, what we need is a very strong engagement from farmers. And that is a complete different process and a complete different approach to how we access projects. So again, not land prospection anymore, but rather a kind of a sales process to farmers and trying to push the concept of agrivoltaics to farmers. So there are important activities like education, but also making sure that farmers understand the whole benefits that Agri-PV projects can have for them and for their farming business. So once that first step is done and the partnership is kind of in the building, comes the second one, which is basically the project qualification and the design of the project. So in this phase, what we want to make sure is that the potential and the potential synergies we have in the project can be delivered through the project design, construction, and operation. When we speak about Agri-PV, we always try to make sure that synergies can be developed in three big areas. The first one are technical synergies. So whether it is agronomic synergies, meaning that we are bringing agronomic services through the project to the farm, but it can also be in this context of technical synergies, improving the land access for solar PV developers. Okay. The second one are economic synergies, and we always try to bring economic resilience to the farming sector through our projects. And finally, the third one are, let's say, more societal synergies, where we always work on improving the biodiversity content of the project and also enabling through agrivoltaics multiple transitions, the energy transition, but also the transition of the farming sector towards a more resilient state. And finally, the third aspects of this partnership is that those are partnerships that are built on the long term, because as a matter of fact, we are operating two businesses on one same site for a very long period of time, 25, 30, or 35 years. In this context, a special point of attention is about the increasing complexity of regulatory development on this point, which in our experience has translated in some cases in some issue in developing certain type of projects that would have made sense from let's say an agronomic or an energy perspective, but that were kind of made impossible by specific regulation on the specific country. So one important thing is that farming is also evolving very fast, and that creates an enormous area of potential for the future. And when we look into that future, so we have to take a few elements into consideration. No? So the farming is evolving. There are farming demographics. We know that a lot of farmers are going to retire in the next 5 to 10 years in Europe. And as a consequence, there is a farming business diversification, I mean, farming are not anymore just only small farmers, but we start seeing agriculture asset managers. This is getting much more sophisticated, much more technical, and this is also opening opening the opportunities to more kind of B2B relation that for partnership building with large PV developers are going to be very beneficial playground for the future. And then a third aspect that I'd like to open also is the existence of players within the agri-food value chain. So players that are buying not only food product, but also electricity. And through Agri-PV, they have the opportunity to have a kind of a one-stop shop kind of project to acquire both their clean energy, but also to improve their value chain upstream with quality and more stable food products. So a lot of opportunity in Agri-PV. We're just at the beginning of it. Let's see in 10, 15 years where we are, but partnership is going to be a key ingredient of that sector. Thank you for this part. And now I'm going to hand over to Declan Keiley. Declan.
Don't know what's happened to my camera.
I think we lost your image, Declan.
Hey, Declan, it might be that your background is too in the forefront. You could remove it, I suppose, if you go to settings. And if you go to, and then you remove your custom background. Unless we're talking to Declan the lamp.
No, you're not talking to. So hold on, I'm just looking. Where's the background?
Not a problem.
How's that? Let's try that.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, I think it was because you're, yeah, it's perfect. Go for it. You have the floor.
Thank you. It's very good to be building on what Emilien has just said, because the partnerships that we look to grow at Lightsource BP are fundamentally in and around land and land management. And to achieve that, we can't do anything without engaging with farmers. 99.9% of the land that we'd be looking at for solar PV is owned and managed by farmers and is under active farm management. Most of it would be under livestock management. Agriculture, both in the UK and probably across the whole of Europe, is probably one of the most volatile markets that anybody could be in. They're open to issues such as weather, massive changes in regulation. Here in the UK, we've seen that over the last 5 years, where a massive change away from the EU subsidy framework towards a UK-based formula has brought all sorts of problems and headaches for farmers. We look to work very closely with livestock farmers because of the way that our environmental planning process works, and they are probably the most vulnerable in terms of the volatility within their market. So I was just doing some work looking at the gross margins in and around sheep, which is our primary livestock that we either have on the land before we get there and hopefully have on the land afterwards. But they have a gross margin that ranges from circa £800 per acre, and it can go down to as little as £300 per hectare, and can go down to as little as £300 per hectare. And that can be down to the weather. It can be down to regulation. It can just be down to the trade deal that a government has gone into. So lamb farmers in this country have suffered terribly with issues with the Australian and the New Zealand trade deals that have been done by the UK government. It's impacted them very, very much. So what do we do in that? We sit as a partner. We sit as a friend to the farmer because, as Emilien said, we're going to be in partnership with these guys for in a PV sense for 40 years. So what we need to do is set the compass very strongly on a partnership of trust. And so what we did quite early on is to work with Farmers Weekly. Farmers Weekly is a weekly journal that is on every single farm kitchen table in the UK. It's very, very well read. It's got a great readership, and we engaged in a, if you like, an offshoot, a quarterly offshoot called Farmers Weekly Transitions. Now, transitions is an interesting word because effectively it was dealing with diversification. It was dealing with how farms can widen their reach, how they can spread their income base to make them more resilient into the future. And renewables became and is now a very, very key part of that. So we felt that it was really important that we were at the table talking to these people and explaining how to do it. Transitions works at a very local level. I speak to farmers. I speak on panels at farmers events. But more importantly, we have a quarterly review where we send the views from those of us sat on the transition forum straight up to government. So again, renewables are a key part of diversification in agriculture, and it's really important that that government ministers understand the complexities of diversification. What does it mean, really? So from our perspective, what we're trying to do is explain the fact that what we do is we impact the rural community. Just at its very, very simplest level, Lightsource BP, like all other developers, are paying a rent to farmers. We pay a rent per acre, per hectare, and that money goes into that farm. What it actually does is it's like throwing a stone into the middle of a pond, and the ripples out from that and the impacts of that rent can be felt right the way throughout the rural economy. It means that farm hands, farm apprentices keep their job because there's rent there that is supporting the core business. It means that ancillary businesses such as tractor servicing or veterinary services, all of these benefit from the rent we pay, because what we're doing is we're making that farm a sustainable business for the lifetime of our lease. And within that, we bring specialists like Emilien in, and we start talking to farmers about how we can step those diversifications up into the future. I hope you found that quite interesting. I'm happy to take any questions on the farm business side. I'm going to hand over to Pedro now, who is the principal planner within our Portuguese team, and he's going to talk about Montagu's Harrier, which is actually something quite close to my heart as well. It was nice to see the next slide being about Monty's Harrier. So, okay, thank you all for your time.
Thanks, Declan. So I'm very excited to present our partnership with Palombar to you guys. Palombar is a non-profit environmental organization, and we are in partnership. We teamed up with them on a project co-funded by the European Commission's LIFE program, actually, to conserve the Montagu's Harrier. I'll give you the scientific name, Circus pigargus, because the name changes across Europe. So this is a migratory bird of prey and protected species whose population in Portugal actually has declined by 80% over the last decade. So what are we doing? We are co-funding the research that Palombar is doing to support monitoring the target species to assess their interaction with renewable project energies. The objective is to develop sensitivity maps, which can be used to adapt renewable project design to optimize the integration of these sites into the local environment. Collaborations of this kind support financially scientific studies, which otherwise would struggle to see the light, and are a perfect demonstration of the benefit we can create for the environment by sharing know-how. Indeed, as a developer, Lightsource brings to the table our technical expertise and our experience across multiple markets on how renewable projects interact with the ecosystem, challenging current views and exploring synergies For example, in terms of patterns of soil use compatible with this species, to promote opportunities of community engagement and partnerships with other local stakeholders, especially in terms of agriculture development, which crosses with our two previous presentations, for example. On the other hand, thanks to this research, we and basically all the industry will get very specific insights based on actual data on these species habitats and migratory patterns. It's an incredible resource for all players to inform our development plans and keep improving our contribution to the environment. But studies are key for us for any development in Portugal and actually in the whole Iberian Peninsula, studying in general. And therefore, it is a field where we saw the most value for collaboration, as it will allow a fruitful exchange for both parties, either Lightsource and also the Academy in Portugal and these type of associations. The program actually goes beyond the scientific research, as it aims to increase the breeding population by 50% over the next 6 years of this project, not only in Portugal, but spread out to 49 special protection and adjacent Natura Network 2000 areas. Again, both in Portugal and Spain, so we are not sticking to the Portuguese context. Which is very aligned with our commitment to protect the ecosystem and, where possible, to improve habitats for the local wildlife. This is important because the partnership doesn't involve any of our projects directly, to keep this effort as neutral and transparent as possible. This program was established as a collective effort led by the NGO Palombar that I mentioned you about, with scientific and repopulation goal as a priority. And Palombar actually manages a large set of entities and other stakeholders within this project. The main challenge, and actually at the same time an opportunity, is to communicate to the wider public about this initiative, to demonstrate what sustainable development means and the incredible work that the industry has put behind the definition of the environmental measures, and to pave way to real-life coexistence. Palombar is doing a great job, and once these sensitivity maps will be available, there will be a real opportunity for all developers to work on innovative solutions to keep advancing on development good practices, with biodiversity protection at its front and center. Lightsource BP deeply values and believes that such close collaboration with associations like Palombar, with the Academy, and other holders of the scientific knowledge is a crucial step to create valuable and responsible projects and to converge potential different views into a common goal, which is responsible development. So now I would like to hand over to Marcin, Principal Planner in Poland, for a more operational view to discuss the successes and the challenges of creating an environment for bees to thrive while kickstarting honey production. Go ahead, Marcin.
Thank you. Something went wrong with my camera.
Hi, Marcin.
Hi.
Are you able to see the camera button below to turn it on? What do you see?
Yeah, I'm trying to turn on, but I have make sure another app isn't using try. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Perfect. I see you. Take it away.
Okay, thanks. So I will introduce again myself. I'm Marcin Stoltman. I'm acting as a principal environmental planner in Poland. And I would like to share with you a simple but powerful idea about how partnerships, especially with local communities, can help us build solar farms that produce not only green energy. One of the way we are doing that is by integrating beekeeping into our solar sites. It's a great example of how renewable energy and the biodiversity can go hand in hand. We usually follow a 6-step approach to make this work. First, and for what is most important, we start by finding a local beekeeper who is interested in working with us. This is a key because we want the project to benefit people who live nearby, not just the grid. It's all also about creating shared value from the very beginning. Then in step 2, it's all about understanding what the beekeeper needs. We sit down together and talk through things like access roads, gate size and numbers of that gate's preferred location, and how much space is required. Every site is different, and so are the needs of each beekeeper. For example, in our 50 megawatts PV site in Kotoń, we set aside a fenced area about 100 square meters with one access gate and space for 10 beehives. In next step, we are making sure that the beekeeping setup fits our health and safety and operation requirements. We ensure that the hives site is located outside the fenced area, PV area, away from high traffic zones like O&M containers, access gates, and the access roads are clear and safe. Once that's done, step 4 is choosing exact location on the site. It's a highly collaborative exercise that engage multiple teams from different branches, and the goal is to balance technical, ecological, and practical needs. For example, in that Kotoń PV site, hives are located roughly 80 meters from the nearest PV modules, around 10 meters from the closest access gate, and around 3 meters from the PV fence. That is close enough for convenience, but far enough to avoid interference. And after that, we are going to formalities. We are signing 2 different agreements. One is dedicated for the land use, and second is dedicated for the honey delivery. That simple documents assure that every responsibility is well understood by both parties and give us transparency. And the final step, when we can enjoy the honey. But more on that, we can celebrate a solar farm that supports biodiversity and community engagement. And from our example, it was a small gesture, but with a big, massive message. At the end, it occurs that it was not just about honey, but we also showed that our solar farm can support ecosystems, not just by energy production. And we also built trust with local partners, with municipalities, and with the people who live next to our project. And that will be all. I will hand over to Liza Gray, our Commercial Marketing Strategy Director. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcin. Hi, everyone. Really nice to meet you, and thank you so much for attending our webinar. I hope the above case studies have provided some insight on how organizations and as a sector we can progress even further if we consider integrating cross-sectoral partnerships within our sustainability strategy and efforts. I'm wrapping up the session by talking about the importance of communication, communicating these initiatives and partnerships wider than just our industry. As a sector, we have so much to offer in relation to sustainability efforts and the amazing partnerships that we build within our organizations. We progress them, we tell the story. Our credibility appeals to wider audiences, not just to the sector, to communities, to governments and other stakeholders. A brand that translates how it cares externally not only showcases the value of the projects, but it also demonstrates credibility, that there is responsibility and accountability to how we operate as a sector. This is becoming increasingly needed as we're seeing requirements on engagement from off-takers, from communities directly wanting to see more from our projects, and other stakeholders to provide transparency and credible demonstrations of these efforts. if we're not communicating about them widely, people are not going to be aware of these amazing partnerships and these initiatives. Investing in partnerships and ensuring we tell the story widely contributes to the wider sector of the industry collectively and as a whole. We're also living in a time of huge disinformation campaigns. They can be easily created, and we are all competing with visibility on our content and showcasing the value that our projects add to communities and the environment. So approaching communication collectively is vital, and translating those partnerships is key to ensure that we stay ahead of disinformation campaigns that can be formed against the solar industry. I hope you've gained some insights and thoughts from my colleagues in our presentations. We're very excited to be part of these partnerships at Lightsource BP. I also want to thank the wonderful team at Solarplaza for the opportunity to partner on this event. And that's it from us, and we look forward to answering any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thanks, Liza, and for everyone for their presentations. I would like now to invite all the speakers to turn on your cameras. We have the Q&A session. I'm jumping back here because if there are any further questions, I know you can contact them at Lightsource BP. And we are here to take all your questions. Once more, there is a question box on the top right of your screen. Send them our way, and we have more than enough time to address it. I want to kick open this session with kind of an open question to all of you, and we will go in order. It's about partnerships for development, and I want to know each of you if you could each share one best practice for forging sustainable partnerships. And Katy, if you wanted to start with that. You're muted again.
Sorry. No, I was just thinking
No
of an answer. I think Liza picked up on it, but it's being kind of open and transparent. Both those you're in partnership with, but also sharing that with wider audiences, whether it's communities, local authorities, environmental organizations. So I think it's kind of having that open, transparent dialogue, but with a clear purpose to why you're engaging and why you're partnering.
Okay. Does anyone have a different answer?
Yeah. So for me, it's being very much trying at the earliest point to embed yourself in the local rural community, and for us, that's working with local farmers, working with things like the local agricultural society, so that we can add value to what would be a normal contracting relationship. So, for instance, we in some of our projects we're key sponsors in the local agricultural show, and that means we're highlighted. It means that people can come to our stand and we can have conversations about what we are doing to support the agricultural community and the rural communities in and around those areas.
Okay. There's an interesting note then. We have, does anybody have any more responses to that? If anyone has another best practice.
Yeah, just also building a bit on the same concept. But one step back is also, this transparency, it has also for us, we have to be educational. We have to have a lot of pedagogy. Typically when we talk to farmers, there's a lot of questions about how we operate the project, how it's going to look like. So it's very important to be also very transparent and take the time to really go into the detail to generate that trust that is needed. And also to help farmer in this case farmer, but figures themselves into the project. There's one thing that is always a kind of a little bit of a friction, that is our permitting process is quite long. It takes 5-6 years to build a PV plant. At the contrary, when the farmer takes a decision on his farm to invest in something, it's typically 1 or 2 years, right? So we have also to match those different decision timing.
Okay. Thank you, Emilien. Maybe we cut then to a question from Marcin. Based on that, what are some key factors to consider if determining a solar farm is suitable or safe for beekeeping? Because Emilien said there are a lot of factors to consider for Agri-PV. I was curious if there are lots of things to consider when it comes to, addressing that.
So basically, the key factors are appropriate space. So in my opinion, in majority of cases, that beekeeping is very easy to implement because there is a very small amount of PV projects in which we are using 100% of area for PV modules. There is always some spare area that we are not using. So as I said on that example, we need only 100 meter to establish 10 beehives. And the structure could also differ. We can do that in the 2 separated areas. Of course, that would be not too optimal from the beekeeper perspective, but it would be still doable. So I would say that area and distances from that location when O&M teams operate very often. So that would be 2 crucial factors.
Okay, thank you very much. I then also want to ask Pedro a similar question. So in your project, you collaborated between the scientific institution as well as, I believe, an NGO. The question is, how can these collaborations, or how do you see them directly enhancing biodiversity, and what is the impact of these that you see?
Thanks for the question. So actually, that is the final goal here. So it's to put together. It's actually put together our knowledge, and we don't hold all the truth. We don't know. We don't hold all the knowledge regarding the site where we are putting our projects or any other developer. So it is important for these institutions who actually have the technical knowledge to do the monitoring, the assessment, to cover the sensitivity maps, in order for us to cross-check our experiences and put everything together in order for us to have a better plan at the end, a better project in the end. And again, we want our project to be good on the technical side, but also to have added value and a net gain actually in terms of biodiversity and in terms of enhancing the environment that surrounds us. And in this project particularly, we are collaborating in 1-2 processes, but the actual entire life program that is led by Palombar, the actual final aim is to enhance the habitats until in order to achieve 50% success in added breeding for the species in particular. So this is actually it's a classic and typical example on how this collaboration could reach and have a specific metric of biodiversity enhancement.
Thank you. Well, we look forward to following all these projects, and thank you all for sharing. I have a final question, and a nice way to wrap it up is for you, Liza. You mentioned that all these projects are done because these are things that off-takers are more interested in now going forward. Could you share a bit more about what are the key considerations from the off-takers? What is the new demand coming up that you see?
Yeah, so it's just links to sustainability initiatives. So a lot of our corporate partners have really big sustainability goals, and these reach into various different things: biodiversity, community benefits, etc. So it's all about finding synergies. So we see a lot of synergies between our initiatives and the off-takers initiative, and in some cases, it works as a really great partnership off-takers are interested in what we're doing, and in some cases interested to take part in some of our initiatives. So then you build a bit more momentum where we would have started an initiative, but that's grown because of the interest from the off-taker.
Okay, well, lots of things going forward. I myself can echo this as well. On all the conferences we've had so far this half of the year, we see an increase in complexity, increase in actors, and the need for more partnerships and working together, and also considering sustainability. So thank you, all of you, for sharing. We're out of time right now, so I just want to end with a quick share that these are the events coming up. I put the ones that are interesting, and we have a deal if people want to come to these events. I know Emilien will be in Agri-PV, which is really nice. But with that in mind, I want to say thank you to Lightsource BP for joining and sharing all of these stories. I want to end on this slide with their email so that you can reach out to them. And yeah, thank you to all the speakers, as well as Isabel for putting this together. She's not here, but I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for all of the people who joined us, and have a great Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
You're all.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye, Dirk. Thanks for attending the webinar. Thanks, Declan. Bye.